Achieving your goals doesn't depend on your willpower. It depends on science. If you want this to be the year you actually follow through on your resolutions, you need to stop managing minutes and start implementing biological systems. What I'm going to teach you today is the exact method that allows you to compress a work week into just 4 hours of absolute focus, allowing you to reclaim control of your attention and forever eliminate the mental fog that has you stuck. Implementing this protocol will take just a few minutes of adjustment, but it will enable you to achieve any objective by combining tools from neuroscience and high-performance psychology. Today, we're doing this together. By the end of this video, you will stop relying on fleeting motivation and become an elite executor. I promise you, when you look back at this content a few months from now, you'll realize that you are, finally, that productive person you've always dreamed of being. But before we begin, I want to ask you for something important. If this type of content resonates with your vision of growth, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon right now. By doing so, you join a community that refuses to settle for average. Share this video with others who, like us, are tired of burnout culture and are looking for a smarter, more human, and more powerful way to reach success. Let's build an environment together where talent doesn't burn out, it shines. The GPS method stands for Goals of Energy, Energy Management, Prioritization, Neuro-Associative, and Systems of Focus. This system is designed to hack your biology and make your brain work for you, based on a fundamental premise. Most people work against their nature, not with it. As author Tim Ferriss says, being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and indiscriminate action. Today, we are going to break that cycle. Pursuing any goal isn't something ethereal. It's a physical process that activates specific circuits in your brain, from the amygdala to your prefrontal cortex. If you aren't achieving what you want, it's because your mental architecture is suffering from what science calls attention residue. Every time you jump from one task to another, you leave a part of your intelligence trapped in the previous distraction. Today, we're going to clear that trail and install a roadmap that allows you to move at a speed others simply cannot comprehend. Get ready, because what you're about to learn aren't just simple task management tricks, but a total reconfiguration of your relationship with work. We're moving from theory to practice, integrating the voices of the world's leading experts and tactical tools you can use starting this very second. As James Clear stated, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The GPS method is the system that will allow you to build the life of your dreams with an ease you never thought possible. The journey toward your maximum potential starts now. The awakening and attention residue. You've surely felt that stinging frustration at the end of the day. You've been sitting down for 10 hours, yet your important projects remain untouched. The problem isn't your lack of willpower, but what Tim Ferriss bluntly defines. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and indiscriminate action. We live in the era of infoxication, where being busy has become a badge of honor, but in reality, it's a hijacking of your brain chemistry that prevents you from filtering the vital from the irrelevant. This addiction to hyperconnectivity has created a generation of shallow workers who mistake movement for progress. Your brain isn't designed to process 1,000 stimuli per second. When you try to do so, you enter a state of chronic fatigue that erodes your capacity for deep analysis. You don't lack time, you have too much noise. The real competitive advantage in this decade won't be who works more hours, but who is capable of protecting their attention in a world designed to steal it. Science explains this exhaustion through the concept of attention residue. University of Minnesota researchers Sophie Leroy demonstrated that when you switch from one task to another, your brain doesn't flip a switch instantaneously. A part of your cognitive capacity stays stuck on the previous task, temporarily reducing your IQ. As Cal Newport affirms, to produce at your peak level, you need to work for extended periods with full concentration, free from distraction. Imagine now compressing your entire weekly output into blocks of just 4 hours of maximum intensity. It's not a fantasy, it's the result of applying neuroproductivity. It's about stopping the fight against your biology and working in its favor. Instead of forcing 8 hours of mediocre concentration, we're going to use the GPS method: energy management, neuro-associative prioritization, and focus systems. It's a map designed for you to stop being a firefighter putting out fires and start being the architect of your time. To start clearing that attention residue today, we're going to do a practical exercise called the mental tab closer. Before switching from one activity to another, take exactly 60 seconds to write down on a piece of paper where you left off and what the immediate next step is. This simple act of offloading information from your working memory gives your brain permission to let go of the previous task and focus 100% on the new one, eliminating cognitive drag immediately. By mastering this method, you won't just be more efficient, you'll reclaim your mental freedom. As author James Clear says, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The GPS method is that system that will allow you to achieve in one morning what takes others 5 days. Get ready, because we are about to reconfigure your relationship with work using tools like cold turkey or freedom to shield your focus. Understand that every minute you spend distracted is a minute you steal from your future self. Don't let others' urgency become your priority, because at the end of the road, the only thing that will differentiate the winners from those who quit is the quality of their focus. We are about to lay the foundation for your new reality, where effort isn't measured by sweat, but by the precision of your impact. The journey towards your maximum potential starts now. This isn't a system for working more, but for living better. By applying neuroproductivity, you stop being a slave of notifications and become the owner of your attention, the most valuable resource you possess in the modern economy. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius declared, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? If the answer is no, eliminate it. If the answer is yes, commit to it with the intensity of an elite athlete. What you're about to hear next won't just change your schedule, but the very structure of how you process reality to conquer your most ambitious goals.
The G of energy management and the power of when. Understanding productivity through neuroscience requires accepting an uncomfortable truth. Time isn't money. Time is energy. Many try to force their schedules based on a wall clock, ignoring that the human brain is a rhythmic organ. As Tony Schwartz, CEO of the Energy Project, states, time management is a myth. The real resource we must manage is our physical and mental energy. If you try to perform a high-demand cognitive task when your brain is in an energy valley, it will take you 3 times longer, and the result will be mediocre. We fall into the trap of believing that performance is a straight upward line, when in reality, it's a series of peaks and valleys. Forcing your brain to work in a state of exhaustion isn't discipline, it's biological inefficiency. You're burning precious glucose without generating real value. Neuroproductivity teaches you that 1 hour of work at your energy peak is worth more than 5 hours of struggling against afternoon brain fog. It's not about how many hours you spend in front of the screen, but how much neural power you can summon during each of those hours. To master this pillar, we must understand our biology through chronobiology. Dr. Michael Bruce, a clinical psychologist and world authority on sleep, explains in his book The Power of When that everyone has a unique chronotype, a circadian rhythm that dictates when we are most alert. Whether you're a lion who shines at dawn or a wolf who finds their genius at midnight, the secret isn't working more hours, but aligning your hardest tasks with your biological peaks of cortisol and body temperature. This is where the GPS method becomes tactical. Don't block your mornings to answer emails if that's your moment of peak clarity. That's a sin of neuroproductivity. As Brian Tracy says, eat that frog. Use your energy peak for the task that requires the most neural horsepower. To identify these moments with scientific precision, you can use tools like the Rise Science app, which analyzes your sleep debt and predicts your peak performance windows, or take Dr. Bruce's official test to adjust your schedule to your biological type. Let's put this into practice with an exercise called the 3-day audit. Over the next 72 hours, set an alarm every 60 minutes and write down your energy and concentration levels on a scale of 1 to 10. Don't judge, just observe. At the end, you'll see a clear pattern, your golden hours. Those are the 4 hours where your brain is a supercomputer. The rest of the day, when your energy drops, is the time for administrative tasks, calls, or active rest. You must begin to see rest not as an interruption of work, but as the fuel that makes it possible. The brain isn't a steam engine. It's a living ecosystem that needs regeneration periods to consolidate information and clear out the metabolic byproducts of intense thinking. Just as an athlete doesn't train to failure every second of the day, you must master the art of strategic oscillation. By respecting your energy valleys, you are protecting the longevity of your career and the sharpness of your judgment. Energy management also involves understanding that the brain consumes approximately 20% of the body's total calories. You can't demand elite performance from it if you don't give it recovery breaks. According to the Yerkes-Dodson law, there is an optimal level of arousal. If you push too far without resting, you enter the zone of diminishing returns. The goal is to work in high-intensity bursts, followed by total disconnection, allowing brain waves to stabilize before the next sprint. To close this chapter, remember the words of Jim Lohr, co-author of The Power of Full Engagement. Performance, health, and happiness are grounded in the skillful management of energy. Don't feel guilty for resting. Resting, in fact, is part of high-intensity work. By protecting your energy peaks and respecting your valleys, you stop being a victim of your fatigue and become a strategist of your performance. Get ready, because once you manage your energy, the next step is learning to prioritize with surgical precision.
Before we move on to the prioritization strategy, I want us to have a moment of honesty down in the comments section. Based on what we've just seen about biological rhythms, at what time of day do you feel your brain really turns on, and when do you feel like you're just dragging your feet? Identifying your chronotype is the first step to mastering the GPS method, so share your experience. Reading how others function helps us understand that we aren't lazy, sometimes we're just out of sync. If this new perspective on neuroproductivity is opening your eyes and you feel like someone is finally explaining why the traditional office schedule drains you, I invite you to hit the like button. By doing so, you don't just support this content, you help us reach more people who, like us, are tired of burnout culture and are looking for a smarter and more human way to achieve success. Now be careful, managing your energy is only half the battle. Having the engine running and full of fuel is useless if the steering wheel is locked or if you're driving in the wrong direction. Energy without direction is simply noise. That's why now that you know how to turn on your biological machinery, it's time to learn how to aim with laser precision. Let's begin with the next pillar.
The P of Neuro-Associative Prioritization. Once you know when you have the most energy, the next critical mistake is spending it on the wrong things. The human brain has a biological weakness. It prefers the instant gratification of crossing off 10 insignificant tasks rather than facing a single complex one. As Steve Jobs warned, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Neuro-associative prioritization consists of hacking your reward system so that your dopamine works in favor of your long-term goals, not the compulsive checking of notifications. We are evolutionarily programmed to seek the easy and the immediate because for our ancestors, saving energy was a matter of survival. However, in the modern world, this instinct is your worst enemy. Every time you check an irrelevant message instead of advancing your main project, your brain receives a small hit of dopamine that makes you feel falsely productive. It's sugar productivity. It gives you a momentary rush, but leaves you empty and without real results at the end of the day. Prioritizing isn't just choosing what to do. It's having the discipline to ignore what shines, to focus on what builds. To master this pillar, we must apply Pareto's law with surgical precision. The economist Vilfredo Pareto discovered that 80% of your results come from only 20% of your actions. In neuroproductivity, this means identifying that one thing that once completed will make everything else easier or even unnecessary. As Gary Keller explains in his book, The One Thing, the key is not to be successful at everything, but to be successful at what really matters. The neurological challenge is that important tasks are usually the ones that generate the most resistance, a phenomenon Steven Pressfield calls the resistance in his work, The War of Art. Your brain interprets deep work as a threat because it consumes so much glucose. To beat this, we use visualization tools like a digitalized Eisenhower matrix in apps like Todoist or TickTick, classifying every commitment not by its external urgency, but by its weight in your life goals. Every decision you make consumes a finite portion of your cognitive energy. If you start your day deciding what clothes to wear, what to have for breakfast, or which email to answer first, you are wasting your analytical capacity before getting to the important stuff. Effective prioritization requires you to automate the trivial, to free up space in your prefrontal cortex. Elite executors don't decide what to do in the moment. They have a system that has already decided for them the night before. Reducing your options isn't limiting you, it's giving you the freedom to be extraordinary in what you did choose. Let's implement a practical exercise called Chris Bailey's Rule of Three. Every morning, before opening your email or turning on your screen, write down the 3 wins you want to have achieved by the end of the day. Not 10, not 15, just 3. By limiting your options, you eliminate decision fatigue, that mental exhaustion that arises from having too many alternatives. This exercise trains your prefrontal cortex to ignore the noise and focus exclusively on high-value signals. Prioritization also requires environment design that minimizes cognitive load. The brain is a machine of associations. If you work in the same place where you play or rest, your priority becomes fragmented. As James Clear says in Atomic Habits, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Create a visual or auditory anchor like a specific lamp or a white noise playlist that tells your brain it has entered the maximum priority zone. To close this chapter, remember that productivity isn't about doing more things, but about doing the right things exceptionally well. As management consultant Peter Drucker declared, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. By mastering the P of the GPS method, you stop running in circles and start moving in a straight line. Get ready, because once you have the right direction, the next step is learning to shield your focus with sprint systems.
The S of focus systems and the flow state. You've managed your energy and chosen your priority, but now you face the final enemy, reactive distraction. The modern brain is under constant attack from cheap dopamine. To defeat it, we need what psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called the flow state. He defined it as that state of total absorption in an activity for its own sake. Entering flow isn't an accident. It's the result of a system that eliminates friction and shields your attention from the outside world. When you enter this state, your brain undergoes a radical change. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex temporarily deactivates, a phenomenon known as transient hypofrontality.
This silences your inner critical voice and allows information to flow without filters, while your system is flooded with a perfect mix of norepinephrine, dopamine, and anandamide. It's not just that you work faster, your ability to recognize patterns and solve complex problems multiplies. Flow is the God mode of human performance, and the GPS method is the switch to activate it at will. The most effective focus system for neuroproductivity is the cognitive load sprint. Unlike the traditional 25-minute Pomodoro technique, which sometimes cuts off flow just as the brain is warming up, we use 50-minute blocks. As Cal Newport explains in his work on deep work, the ability to concentrate intensely is a skill that becomes increasingly valuable. If you don't train your attention muscle with long blocks, your ability to solve complex problems will wither. To implement this, we will use a neuroscientific tool called brainwave entrainment. Apps like Endel or Brain.fm use artificial intelligence to generate soundscapes that induce alpha and beta waves, the frequencies associated with deep focus. By combining these sounds with noise-canceling headphones, you're sending a chemical signal to your brain. It's time to work. The rest of the world has ceased to exist. Let's put this into practice with the zero-click rule exercise. During your 50-minute sprint, commit to not opening any new tabs or checking notifications. If an idea unrelated to the current task pops up, simply write it down on a physical capture list and go back to work. This exercise strengthens your prefrontal cortex, teaching your brain that you are the boss of your impulses, not the other way around. We live in an economy that trades in your attention. Every notification is an attempt to colonize your time and fragment your mental peace. By implementing these focus systems, you are building a fortress around your creative genius. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, but about choosing when and how you want to interact with it. By protecting these 50-minute blocks, you aren't just producing higher quality results, you are reclaiming sovereignty over your own mind in an environment that constantly seeks to distract you. The second part of the system is the analog break. After each sprint, you must take 10 minutes of total disconnection. But be careful, checking social media isn't resting, it's just swapping one type of fatigue for another. As John Medina states in Brain Rules, physical movement improves cognition. Get up, walk, hydrate, or look out the window. These 10 minutes allow the default mode network to process information and prevent premature burnout. To close, remember Aristotle's words about excellence being a habit. By applying focus systems, you stop relying on motivation, which is volatile, and start relying on structural discipline. With GPS activated, the 4 hours of work that previously seemed impossible will become your new normal. Get ready for the final wrap-up, where we will bring all the pieces together so you can take action today.
Today, we have traveled together through the dense fog of confusion surrounding modern productivity. We've dismantled the myth that success requires chronic exhaustion to discover the true essence of neuroproductivity, intelligent, aligned action filled with grace. We've learned that the secret isn't pushing harder against the wall of fatigue, but finding the current of our own biology and flowing with it. Understanding that the power to stop fighting the clock is, ironically, the greatest power you have. This minimum effort is the natural result of maximum internal alignment between your brain and your goals. It's the permission you give yourself to stop forcing doors and simply walk through the ones already open for you. As the great Taoist master Lao Tzu said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." Let this phrase resonate in you every time you feel the temptation to return to the frantic struggle. Remember the flower, remember the river, and remember that this same wisdom of perfect efficiency resides in your neurons. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me your time and your sacred energy. It has been a true honor to share this space and this moment with you.
If this message resonated in your soul and you want to continue deepening these teachings to transform your life, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single one of our journeys. Join our community in the comments by sharing your biggest revelation from today. Together, we create a growth energy much more powerful than any algorithm. Get ready, because our journey has only just begun. In our next meeting, we're going to reveal the missing technical piece to make your 4 hours of work unstoppable. The biological 90-minute rule, how to hack your ultradian rhythms to eliminate burnout. We'll discover why your brain shuts down in the mid-afternoon and how to use Dr. Nathaniel Kleitman's science to maintain elite focus without burning out in the process. Until then, practice the flow. Let go of the oars, apply your focus, and watch the magic happen as you build the life of your dreams with an ease you never thought possible. See you next time.